I am so excited to welcome you to our 20th anniversary celebration. This is a significant milestone for Newcastle. For 20 years now, we have been a staple in the community. We've established a legacy that many organizations never achieve. So often you see a new business go up, and within a few years, the name changes, the services, the product lines, everything changes, and there's a shift from their original mission, but not Newcastle. For 20 years, we've been a force in the community, and not just in the greater Mequon area, but in the senior living industry in general. Newcastle Place is a remarkable community, and with that name carries a distinct prestige that we should all be very proud of. There are several things that make Newcastle Place a special community, and by far, the number one thing to me is the people. I like to tell a story, and many of you may have heard it, but I like to tell a story about my first experience, my first impression of Newcastle. I was here on my final interview a little over a year ago to meet with the leadership team. And from the moment I pulled in the driveway, I was awestruck with the beauty of the community, the architecture, the well-manicured landscape. Everything about it was just thoroughly impressive. And you know, I came in about 20 minutes early, and I just wanted to drive around and piece together everything that I'd learned about the community. And based on what I know about the business model, the history of Newcastle, my previous experience, started piecing it all together. What you may not know, what my leadership team definitely knows, I'm very, senior living it's a dynamic industry, and it's a very challenging thing. I refer to it as the ultimate puzzle. It's like a lot of things, but it's unlike anything else. And while being numbers driven and operations driven, that's where I live. There are many other things that make a senior living community so remarkable, like Newcastle. And the part of the story that you may not know is that while I was driving around, I got a phone call from a number that I didn't recognize. And I was so glad that I answered that phone call. I didn't know who it was, but when I picked up the phone, I recognized the voice immediately. Matt, this is Glennis. Now, Glennis was a resident that I got very close with at my very first senior living community. Now, she'd heard through the grapevine that I had a job interview that day, and she wanted to call and wish me luck and tell me that she was proud of me. And it just blew me away. That was really, there are several defining moments as we go throughout life, and I've shared many of those in senior living communities and with the residents and team members that I have the privilege of serving alongside with every day. And from there, I was excited to go into the interview, but it was a recalibration for me. It's the people that are really, really important. And it's the people, it's the relationships, it's the lifelong friendships. And so as I went in for my interview, that's exactly what I was looking for and exactly what I found. I was greeted warmly and with a smile from the moment I walked in the door. I met Jim right here. He offered me a piece of banana bread after I'd been here like 10 minutes. Man, that is good. Good stuff. I toured with Alicia, who told me that she was recently promoted into her sales counselor role. And that tells me that I'm joining an organization that values and invests in its people. And that's very important to me. And so I knew within 5 minutes through this tour that this is exactly where I wanted to be. And I actually called Glennis later that night, and I said, it's a little too early to tell for sure, but I may have found my new home. And I just want to thank everyone in this community for welcoming me into your family. So we have a lot to celebrate tonight. We have some very special guests that are joining us. We're going to be watching a video highlighting what makes Newcastle really special. And at the end, I'll be serving as your MC for the next hour. After the event, I'd like everyone to join us in the skylight for a champagne toast and reception. But now I'd like to introduce a very special guest. His name is Jesse Jansen, the president and CEO with LifeSpace Communities, who has made this special trip up to join us on this special occasion. So thank you.
Good afternoon. I just love seeing those smiles. The pride is palpable when I come to this community. And as Matt said, it's a lovely community. It's much more than the beautiful architecture and the finishes throughout, but it's really the people. It's you, the residents, that make this community a special part of our LifeSpace family. And I'm also grateful for our team members who make this a great place to live. It's an honor for me to be here with you, celebrating 20 years. And really neat to know that we've got some people that were here from day one that we're going to be celebrating with. When I think about the history of Newcastle over those 20 years, it was birthed in a nonprofit organization and spent a number of years as part of that family. And then through some difficult times, it moved and was acquired by a for-profit. And then a few years ago, we had the privilege of welcoming Newcastle into the LifeSpace family. So now you're back in a nonprofit home. And it's really important to us as we look at communities that are part of our family, that they're the right culture fit. And again, thinking through the Newcastle pride that you rightfully have. There's many things that you're proud of. And as I've talked with residents, it is a beautiful campus, no doubt, but it's much more than that. It's the people. And so I'm grateful to each of you as residents who call this home, and also to Matt for your leadership and the work that you've done. And, we talk about a heart connection. And as we live out our mission every day, that's that heart connection. And I hear it in your stories, and I see it in your leadership team, and I'm grateful for what you're doing. And so as we look into the future now, in the next many, many decades ahead for this community, I'm excited about what the future holds. And I hear that Julie's excited about maybe a few more carriage homes that are going to be being built, and so we're going to have to go through a little bit of construction and other things that are ahead of us, but the reality is that this will continue to be a great place to live, and for our team members, a great place to work. So as your CEO for LifeSpace and the broader family that Newcastle's a part of, I work for you. And my responsibility, my role is to make sure that Matt and the team have the resources that they need to continue making this a great place to live, a great place to call home. So don't hesitate to hit me up for that, because I'm committed to that. So here's to many, many more decades of having a great family here at Newcastle Place. And thanks for the privilege and the honor to be here with you to celebrate today.
Hi, everyone. My name is Matt Monaco, and I'm the Executive Director here at Newcastle Place. I have been with you for a full calendar year now, and we have been through a lot in that time. Anybody that's been at Newcastle for any amount of time may agree with the old expression that the days are long, but the years are short. Now, we've been through a lot together in that time, but think, I've been with you for 1 year of the entire 20 years Newcastle's been open. That's a mere 5% of the entire time Newcastle has existed. So it's amazing the history within this community, and you're going to hear a lot of history from people that have been here from the very beginning. So it's my honor and privilege to welcome you to our 20th anniversary celebration, and thank you for coming.
What matters most when it all boils down to things is the residents. I mean, that's why we're here.
We're here for, one reason, and one real reason only, for the people who live here.
It's a wonderful community with great people, both great residents and staff, great people to be with, and coming to work every day is a joy. It's wonderful.
I've been here longer than anybody ever been on a job. They say, how you do it? I said, it's part of my life.
It's one of those jobs where you say, I've never worked a day in my life, because you enjoy what you do.
We decided we wanted to further our mission by completing the continuum of care downtown at the Milwaukee Protestant Home and start exploring places in the larger community to expand.
Really, it was at that time, a new concept to have a continuum of care facility out here. But I think over time, everyone has realized it's become a real asset to the community.
Mequon was adjacent to the North Shore communities, and people were familiar with the area, and it was up and coming, and it was beautiful.
We did have the advantage of the name Milwaukee Protestant Home, in existence since 1884 with a very good reputation.
More or less, Mequon said, this is your property, this is the one. that you will build on, or we won't do it. So, okay, so that's fine.
It was kind of a collaboration of what's available and what would both appease both the Protestant home and Mequon. And so then this land became available, and I think we worked with the mayor then, and everyone seemed to feel this was ideal.
So we did find property. That took a while because Mequon community rightfully had certain areas that they saw wanted developed in a certain way.
As you've seen the model in the boardroom, it was pretty well planned ahead of time.
Even Greystone was surprised at how quickly we were able to handle pre-sales.
There was a lot of pent-up demand, and you don't really realize that until the rubber hits the road. And then we saw that this was obviously a great choice to build in Mequon.
When we got in, there was only 7 other people ahead of us. And so each week it built and built and built.
We watched it on TV when they were trying to get approval. It happened that we were living across the river here at Vilda Park. So we saw all this that was developing. And we thought, this is what we need.
Well, we just decided that right now we got to make a decision, and we did, and we loved it ever since.
And it all sounded very interesting, and we were gone to Florida for 6 months out of the year and thought this would be well place to move. We wouldn't have to worry about a house anymore, so we signed up right away.
2001 is when we signed in, but we actually moved in 2003. And it was just the ticket that what we needed.
I knew no one in Milwaukee when we came in. So this is my family. It has been my family for 20 years.
All 20 years when I came here, the building was about half done. Within a day or two when I started, the first residents were already moving in.
It was interesting. When we came here, there wasn't nothing here, no residents, no anybody.
Very quickly, we went from nobody living here to almost full.
It was fun. It was really fun. You know, you thought you'd be part of something new. So it was really fun.
First few years was just a blur. Within the first year, we finished the rest of the building.
I remember when I started, the first floor part of skilled nursing was closed. There was nobody on the first floor. It was just empty rooms.
The only change was the size of the dining room changed. About halfway through, we did add on the east portion of that dining room before it was actually even finished the first time. And when everybody thinks that you have a brand new building and there's nothing to do, just the opposite. We had so much to do with new equipment and people moving in. Probably our busiest time was probably the first 2 years or so. And from my perspective on what I do, there was really nothing in place. There was a room downstairs that was empty, about 16 by 16 room, and that was supposed to be a maintenance shop, but it was empty. So in the beginning, we brought our own tools to do our work.
When I think back to 1884, the beginning of the Milwaukee Protestant home in a house, half of a house that was rented for a few women who might have been sent to the poorhouse otherwise, and how that grew to be the Castle on Downer. When I think of the scores of women for whom this was a labor of love, taking the mission of the Milwaukee Protestant home to the next step was the most gratifying thing for me. For many years, the Milwaukee Protestant home building was nicknamed the Castle on Downer.
Right. And so then the thought was we have to somehow leave the castle name intact, and so then I think it was one of the PR people from Greystone said, why don't we do a NEWCASTLE?
We renamed the Milwaukee Protestant home East Castle.
It all related to the original Protestant home, which was known as the Castle. It
was a quick beginning. Programs were put into place quite rapidly. The pool, I don't remember exactly when the pool was open, but within a few months the pool was open, the dining room was open, the activities was on site already.
The first year, I was a little surprised because I didn't get as much enthusiasm from them as I thought. The second year was totally different. And they said there was a bit of an adjustment, particularly if you were living in the main building, to communal living again, like you would as if you went off to college.
The one thing that is very important we've discovered to people at any care facility is the food.
We've done lobster, we do filet mignon, we do all different varieties of steaks and seafood and rack of lamb, and we never could in the beginning, but you serve them meatloaf and things like that, and they love it.
Good food. As Gary way back said, we live in a AAA restaurant, and I believe that.
It's been a challenge. There's a mindset out there that, this is a nursing home and the food's got to be bad, right? It's far from the truth.
I liked movies, so I started a Saturday night movie, and I kept track of all that we saw in 12 and a half years. But 160 some movies we saw.
Helping the people transition from a rehab, therapy standpoint to this is going to be my home. That was kind of neat. That was fun. You get to know the families more. You get to know people more at a personal level than more at a clinical level.
Plant Ops did deal with computers very much. Things were much more mechanical. There isn't anything we do now that isn't run by a computer of some kind.
Now I use technology in everything I do, from iPads to computers. You interact with the television to play games. It was all hands-on, and before, now it's all technology.
I remember about the necessity of building the carriage homes because there were a few future residents who asked us if we wouldn't think about doing homes instead of the apartments.
Across the country, that younger families were moving into them with the understanding that then they could move into the apartments once they no longer needed that much space. Now you have waiting lists for them. People, that's what they want.
We had a lapdog policy. One young lady that wanted to live here, she was probably in her early 80s. She had 2 Great Danes, and she offered to rent an additional apartment if she could bring one of her Great Danes.
When I first was here, I asked my boss, Lisa, at that time, if I could do a wine and cheese party, and she said, sure.
So she brought Penny, the Great Dane, along. Now Penny was about this high at her back, and probably weighed, I don't know, well in excess of 100 pounds.
Well, hospitality delivered me the wine, but no corkscrew to open the bottle of wine.
But Penny rented an apartment. I would give you the number, but then whoever lives there now might not want to live there anymore. So
I went to Lisa and I said, how do I get a corkscrew? Where do I get one from? Because hospitality said they didn't have one.
Penny, though, learned how to open the front door, unfortunately, with her paw. And she decided that it would be okay to take walks once in a while in the building. Well, that was quite shocking, of course, to visitors.
She sent me to 3 residents' rooms. I knocked on the first floor. It was Noonie and her husband.
Miss Penny was big enough to run away with a caregiver one day down the sidewalk. I patched the caregiver up with some Band-Aids.
I know, I'm Heather from Activities. I'm very sorry to bother you, but Lisa sent me here. I need a corkscrew. Do you by chance have one? And she goes, oh, yes.
But Penny, for the most part, behaved herself very well. She was a nice young lady.
Well, I earned a nickname that day. Whenever Noonie saw me, she called me Corkscrew.
We've had plenty of pets here, but never one that actually owned their own apartment. So.
Not only did Noonie call me Corkscrew, but other residents started calling me that nickname too. So that was my name.
Beautiful, the rural area and areas of trees and forests. It was just beautiful.
The philosophy for Newcastle Place at that time was to live in the city but somewhat in the country. Country living in the city.
I'm a walker, and I mean, I can walk the grounds, and you know, which is, I think, a nice feature, because there are many times places where they're located that you don't necessarily feel safe.
The large tree on the south end of the property, it's extremely old. I would guess it's well over 150. If you think about that tree being here possibly 200 years, that's 1800. That tree was here when, well, most of Wisconsin was being settled already. We became a state when in 1848. It survived the clear cutting of Wisconsin. It survived a lot of things. It survived all the agriculture that went on in this area. That tree was hit by lightning a few years ago, and we were afraid it would die from the lightning. But to tell you how tough that tree is, if it can survive 150 plus years, it can survive a lightning hit, and it did. It healed itself, although there are marks on it where you can see the lightning hit it. But we're happy it survived.
It's amazing, actually, to think. I didn't think when I walked in the door that I'd be at Newcastle for the 20th anniversary. I don't think anybody did. But it's a community. It's a wonderful community with great people, both great residents and staff.
I've enjoyed every minute of it, really.
It grows on you, and somewhere along the way you say to yourself, I'll probably be here as long as every Monday I can get up and still like Mondays and like to go to work. And Friday comes quickly.
As a result of the longevity, I think we get pretty good service. Maybe a little better than the average.
Didn't imagine I'd be here this long when I started. And after a while I thought, hey, maybe I can retire here someday. That remains to be seen.
You know something, when I left East Castle, I figured I'd try something different, you know. But now I got friends still there, lifelong friends. So when I come here, I meet this guy. So we friends now, so this is like family. You know, I get up, that's what makes me get up in the morning.
I really enjoy my job. I enjoy the work we do. And it takes a whole team to do what we do. And Tommy is obviously a big part of that team.
You could see the positive effects definitely on the residents that came in.
Everybody is so friendly. I mean, this is really about like a big family.
It's meeting their requirements all the time. I see it over and over again.
I'd love to swim in the pool. They're always entertaining us, or we're going out for dinner, so I do a lot of things here.
Just to see the evolution of Newcastle and how it's responded to the elderly population.
It's growing, which I think is just great, both here and East Castle.
It was a very gratifying part of my life to be involved in something like this and to see what it has become.
How important in my life it was to have been part of Newcastle and see the development of Newcastle.
It's a nice place, and we're all getting along okay here.
And it's been a blast. But now I don't have 20 more in me, so don't look for it.
Happy anniversary, Newcastle.
Happy anniversary, Newcastle.
Here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Happy anniversary, Newcastle.
You have to talk too.
Happy anniversary, Newcastle Place.
Hey, Newcastle. Happy 21. We have to do this now.
Happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary, Newcastle.
Are we doing 20th anniversary?
Hey, Newcastle. Happy anniversary. Happy anniversary, Newcastle.
You all said Happy New Year.
Happy anniversary, Newcastle.
Happy anniversary, Newcastle Place. 20 years.
And counting.
3, 2, 1.
Hey, Newcastle Place. What? She didn't say place before.
Happy anniversary, Newcastle.
Happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary, Newcastle.
I thought we had to say 20th.
Yes,
we are.
We did.
Hey, Newcastle. Happy 20th anniversary. Happy anniversary, Newcastle.
Happy anniversary, Newcastle.
3, 2, 1.
Happy 20th anniversary, Newcastle.
I love that video. So I tell you, I had the privilege of getting a sneak preview before today, just looking at it, and true story. I walked up to skilled nursing, knocked on Heather's door, and said, "Hey, Corkscrew, how you doing?" That's my new nickname for her. So yeah, amazing. So now I would like to welcome Mr. Brian Lumens, the Plant Operations Director of 20 years.
Good afternoon. I didn't need these 20 years ago either. It has been my privilege to be here for 20 years. Thank you. It is also my privilege to, at least we should recognize with great honor some of the original people that moved in here that first year. That was an interesting time. I'm sure you all remember it. I'd like to start with Jim Partleton over here. Yes, Jim has been commonly referred to as the mayor of Newcastle Place. And his banana bread, as you heard, is outstanding. Next we have Dee Bolus. Thank you, Dee. I'm going to wave to all the folks. She's quite the golfer, if you want to ask her about it. Edna Seaman. Edna Seaman. Thank you, Edna, for being here for 20 years.
Well, thank you very much.
Janine Barris. This is our Saturday night movie lady. That's a lot of movies. What did you think of that movie? Oh, that'll show. So the photography was very good, huh? And last but not least, Ginny Wells. Ginny, thank you for 20 years.
Thank you so much.
Are you introducing, or should I introduce? The next, I'd like to introduce the resident council president, John Hager.
Thank you very much. I've heard today some common themes that have already come out, and so first, let me just say thank you to the Newcastle team and the staff. I feel that Cecily and I have benefited enormously from what's happened over the 20 years, and we're aware of that. What Newcastle has done is they have been able to develop a brand that is known very widely, and that brand has been built on very substantial medical care, very substantial residences, safety and security, and a knowledge about the future. And so the other comment at any anniversary that you often have to make is an anniversary is not just about the past, but it's about the future. And it is exciting to have Jesse Jansen here and to know that Newcastle, in the industry that they are in, have to be constantly on the forward edge of what they're doing. They have to be developing new programs, new residences, new ways to approach the aging population of this country. And without that, they don't any longer become a relevant company. So for Newcastle residents who are asking the question often, what's in it for me, is the massive investment of capital, which will now go into Newcastle, will benefit the residents, it'll benefit Newcastle, it'll benefit Mequon, and the whole community of Milwaukee. So again, I'd like to say congratulations and thank you for all your efforts.
Thank you, John. And just one quick thing, just another tie into the community real quick. The chocolates that our original residents received, those were prepared from a company called Handmade with Love. And that is a team, that the team member that went out and started that business actually was a team member here at Newcastle Place. And she prepared these specially for you residents. All right. So next up, I would like to welcome our Mequon Alderman, Mr. Greg Bach.
Thank you very much, Matt. As Matt said, I'm your neighbor, but I'm also your alderman, and my name is Greg Bach. And what a special place. I mean, looking at that video, I've got to come back here for lunch or dinner or banana bread. This is a special, special place. So thank you very much for inviting me to be part of your special anniversary party. You know, I was thinking 2003, that's 20 years ago, and what was going on in the world at that time. We had the Iraq War going on. Arnold Schwarzenegger was elected governor of California. We had that space shuttle Columbia tragedy. Tampa Bay won the Super Bowl. The 5th Harry Potter book hit the shelves. Finding Nemo, do you remember that movie? That was in the theaters, and Norah Jones was winning all kinds of Grammys. But you know what wasn't going on in 2003? And when Matt was talking at the beginning, he said he received a phone call. The iPhone was not even invented in 2003. The iPhone, I believe, didn't come until 2007. It seems like it's been around forever. But closer to home, I was living in the same house that I am in today, just a couple blocks west of here, with my wife Susie. Susie's there in that bright pink shirt. With our children, Emily and Matthew. We moved into that home in 1994, and in 2003, Emily was 7 and Matthew was 5. Today, I'm so happy because Emily is still in Mequon. She's going to be getting married. Emily and her fiancé teach at Lumen Christi School, not too far away, and they just are in the process of buying their first home. And let me tell you, buying a home in Mequon right now is very, very complicated. But they've had some success. And Matthew, he graduated from UW-Madison right at the start of COVID, so he never had a graduation. So that was in 2020. And he moved to California, and he's working for a company called La Garza Sports, and they teach children, kindergarten to 8th grade, the character and positive elements of sports. And he loves sports, so he's happy. We visited him about a week ago, and it was fun to visit. In 2003, your neighbor Concordia, they were celebrating their 20th anniversary on the Mequon campus. This is their 40th year, Concordia. And Columbia St. Mary's and Mequon, they've been around, I think, for about 11 years. And you all, Newcastle Place, was ready to open. I remember at that time, I remember neighbors in this neighborhood discussing the new development. And of course, whenever there's change, people are worried, what's going to happen over there? There's been so much change on Port Washington Road and that corridor. And I distinctly remember, even from that video, the Newcastle project team holding neighbor planning charrettes to keep everyone informed. They had everything well planned. They were at the Highland House explaining everything, and they did an awesome job. Well, in the end, this is a beautiful campus. Newcastle has been an outstanding neighbor. I don't think I have heard even one complaint in 20 years. And I've been able to learn a little bit about Newcastle over the years. I like to ride my bike to Port Washington in the morning, but coming back to cross Port Washington Road is real tricky. So I try to avoid that Highland Port Washington, and I kind of cut through Newcastle. And everybody waves, and everybody's happy. I don't know if it's legal, but I always do that, and everybody's been very, very nice. And, you know, when I was running for alderman, I looked at the Newcastle mailing list names, and I was super impressed. This community is a gold mine of leaders, business people, physicians, educators, lawyers, and the list goes on and on. And you know, I started learning a little bit more about Newcastle, and when I was running for alderman, nobody gives you a little packet and says, this is what you need to do for alderman. That's not how it works in city government. You are on your own. And boy, did I learn a lot. But that's when I met Connie Pouquet. Somebody introduced me to Connie, and Connie was a former mayor in Mequon, and she sat down and laid out the whole process for me, and I can tell you I'm very, very thankful. Then when I was running, I had a little event over at the Highland House. And I don't know if he's here or not, but one of the people that came to that event, his name was Dr. John Moyer. And Dr. Moyer was a professor of mathematics at Marquette University. And I became a math teacher, and I was interested in teaching middle school students. And Dr. Moyer at the time, when I first started, he taught engineers and mathematicians, but he took the time to apply for a grant to work with math teachers to help them become better. And he had a grant, we got all kinds of materials. I hadn't seen him in years, and he showed up at my event at the Highland House, and he's a resident here. So all kinds of connections here at Newcastle Place. I'm just going to end my remarks with a little story that I used to read to the fourth graders when they went from elementary school to middle school. And it's a little bit about making a difference. Once upon a time, there was a wise man who used to go to the ocean to do his writing. He had a habit of walking on the beach before he began his work. One day he was walking along the shore. As he looked down the beach, he saw a human figure moving like a dancer. He smiled to himself to think of someone who would dance to the day. So he began walking faster to catch up, and as he got closer, he saw that it was a young man. And the young man wasn't dancing, but instead he was reaching down to the shore, picking something up, and very gently throwing it into the ocean. As he got closer, he called out, "Good morning. What are you doing?" The young man paused, looked up, and replied, "I'm throwing the starfish in the ocean." I guess I should have asked, why are you throwing the starfish in the ocean? The sun is up, the tide's going out, and if you don't throw them in, they'll die. But young man, don't you realize that there are miles and miles of beach and starfish all along it? You can't possibly make a difference. The young man listened politely, then bent down, picked up another starfish, and threw it into the sea, past the breaking waves, and said, "It made a difference for that one." So I want to say thank you to Newcastle for making a difference in the Mequon community. You are certainly a starfish in our city, and we appreciate your many, many contributions. I look forward to our work together and celebrating with you for many, many years to come. Congratulations on your 20th anniversary.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I love that story. And coincidentally, that story, that very similar story, is a story that we tell as part of our new team member orientation, all about making a difference. So well timed. Yeah, that's great. Next up, I have the honor and privilege of welcoming our Mequon Mayor, Mr. Andrew Nurbin. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Andrew Nurbin. I'm your mayor. It is my pleasure to be here with you this afternoon and celebrate 20 great years of Newcastle Place in Mequon. You could see it come through in the video a little bit, and Greg touched on it a little bit just now. Can you believe 20 years ago this development was controversial? It's really hard to believe. And you fast forward 2 decades, and it's hard to imagine a Mequon without Newcastle Place. You've brought so much. It's been such a great community asset, and congrats on 20 years. I hope there's 100 more years, if not more. So with that, I've prepared a brief proclamation in honor of this event, so I'm going to read that to you now. For 20 years, Newcastle Place has been a premier senior living community offering all levels of care, including independent living, assisted living, memory care, skilled care, and rehabilitation services. Newcastle Place is a celebration of healthy living with on-site amenities, including chef-prepared meals, a wellness center with an indoor heated pool, fitness education, and an incredible calendar of cultural, educational, and social opportunities both on and off campus. Set on 52 acres, maybe a couple less now with the freeway project, well-manicured grounds, scenic courtyards, and lovely walking paths, Newcastle Place offers an engaging, active lifestyle filled with friendship and connection. Newcastle Place is proud to be recognized for its quality care with a 5-star medical rating, as well as best short-term rehabilitation by U.S. News and World Report for 2022 and 2023. Newcastle Place has established a strong presence in Mequon with more than 300 residents who currently reside in our community. Newcastle Place also provides employment to more than 200 team members in a variety of positions from nursing, hospitality, maintenance, lifestyle services, transportation, and leadership roles. Newcastle Place is an active member and supporter of local groups, including the Chamber of Commerce and the Rotary Club. In addition, Newcastle Place hosts a variety of fundraisers year-round, including a walk and a golf outing to raise funds for the Alzheimer's Association. LifeSpace Communities, who owns Newcastle Place, promotes 5 core values that their team members embrace to make a difference in their residents' lives. Thrive through teamwork, deliver personalized experiences, own it, be excellent, and learn and grow. In addition, Newcastle Place is a nonprofit business that supports the LifeSpace Foundation, and through the foundation, the community raises funds for programs and projects that support common goals for all the residents and team members. Accordingly, I, Andy Nurbin, Mayor of the City of Mequon, on behalf of all citizens of the City of Mequon, thank Newcastle Place for 20 years of excellence serving seniors and proclaim today, May 20th, 2023, as Newcastle Place Day in the City of Mequon. Thank you, Newcastle Place, for making Mequon a better place.
Man, hearing you speak, it just, yeah, I am so proud of this community and everyone here. And thank you all so much for being just amazing team members, amazing residents, and you are truly what makes Newcastle an exceptional community. So with that, that really concludes the presentation portion of the afternoon. I want to thank you all for being here. And next up, we have, can I tell them? I'm going to tell them. All right, so we all know that we're here celebrating a very special day. It is our 20th anniversary, but what most people probably don't know is it's also Brian's birthday. So happy birthday, Brian. And so he's 20 years old. And just thank you for spending your special day with us. And next, if everyone would join us in the Skylight Restaurant for a champagne toast and a reception, and a toast led by none other than our Brian Lumens right here. Thank you all.
First of all, to the Milwaukee Protestant Home for putting us here in the first place. Secondly, to all the residents who have lived here in the past and who live here now, and certainly in the future. Next, to the staff. We have an amazing staff working here. Many dedicated, very, very good people. I have to raise a glass to all the wildlife we share this campus with. Because without the deer, the turkeys, the woodpeckers, all the birds, this would not be Newcastle. And the raccoons. And the raccoons. To all the good times we've had, and all the good times in our future, and last but not least, to the DOT for finally giving us a sound wall after 20 years. Hear, hear. Thank you for coming so much.